Okay, these here are going to pertain to strictly, primarily, Domri and Jess's text messages, actions, consistent. Some of these will show everything's fine, they're proud of us, they're loving, they're caring, and all to which we do for my mother and all to which we've done. But at the same time, shows them turning in August of 2014 when I asked them to testify for me again. As I was trying to get stalking orders against Ida Watson, they refused. From that time on, they pretty much disowned me. Haven't had anything to do with us, nor any calls or phone calls to my mother until after the time that we moved up here, or until the time we were in process of moving up here, virtually. One other thing about the missing monies and bank accounts, we don't know where this money's going or what's happening to it. None of our bank records show any of these transactions taking place, or do they show where this money is going to. Some of them through Bank in the West can be traced where they've overpaid or consistently paid somebody's with nobody getting any money, and the money's simply not been replaced back in the accounts. Other aspects pertaining to it at the time of us moving up here, and other large amounts of dollars. I'm talking thousands of dollars, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, even more. $50,000 vanishing out of the bank accounts with no knowledge, record of, and the banks can give us no answers to. Again, this is after all medical bills were paid off in full, and a lot of other aspects where they were seizing money out of my mother's bank account without even giving us court notice of appearance. We only received one of them at one time pertaining to lawsuits against my mother, trying to collect on debts pertaining to my mother's medical bills. One time, one notice, and I think they only pertain to about $3,000 to $7,000 worth of monies that they were trying to collect. We ended up paying out, I believe, around $220-some thousand pertaining to all of my mother's medical bills. From the time of her electing me as her power of attorney and so forth, and resolving all issues, debts, and or to engage to protect in that of the interest of my mother, lawsuits, etc., etc. But a good example, we had $75,000, well, around $65,000, $70,000 in the motel account from Bank of the West at the time we moved up here. We took $10,000 out of that account, the motel account, to open up an account up here. 4 to 6 weeks later, we went to transfer the rest of the monies from the Bank of the West account, motel account, up here to Wells Fargo account, motel account. And at which time, when we went to transfer the rest of the money, the bank account was empty. There was no money in the bank account, and the bank account was actually even overdrawn several $100s. We have no clue, no idea where these monies went. They are unaccountable, and we have no records of anything being taken from our bank or anything. The money's just gone, it vanished. We have no idea where these monies are going, who it's aiding, or what's been done with it. But at that time, out of the fucking $65,000 or so dollars that were in there, when I transferred the $10,000 in up here, we still had money going into the motel account pertaining to around $6,000 to $8,000 a month. So you figure possibly 1 to 2 months of income from the motel should have went in that to raise it from $65,000 up to $70-some thousand. Again, we were only allowed to transfer $10,000 of that money, and the rest of the money has vanished from the bank account before we could transfer the rest of it up here within a 4 to 6 week span. The only monies taken out of that account at that time were to pay for monthly motel bills and or to pay off debts on credit cards, etc. many issues with the mail, credit cards, and all aspects. Anyway, these are text messages from Don Marie. This says June 1st, 2014, when they're still talking with us. It was August when their hearts turned cold against us, and they began harassing my mother, trying to trick her in phone calls into saying statements, one thing or another. My mother keeps the TV on so loud because she doesn't want to talk to people. It's kind of funny, but she doesn't even pay attention to the phone calls when they're calling and speaking to her, to be honest with you. A lot of times she'll just mumble a few words or this and that to make them think that she's listening and stuff when she's not. And then she says, well, I gotta go to the bathroom, and gets off the phone. And again, like, she wouldn't even get out of her chair, turn and face them when they would come out and visit. Horrific. Anyway, text messages. This here begins, I'm going to, these take quite long for me to read, so I am just going to still shot them. If you have to, please just push pause on the video, stop it to where you can read that of the text messages. I'll give about 10 seconds or so per clip, so you've got time to read it, but it'd be quicker and easier and save me a lot of recording if you just paused and then played the video repeatedly to keep track of. Here Dahmer's telling me maybe I need to get surgery. I'm telling her basically back, I've been trying. The doctors are refusing to see me. Doctors are refusing to do anything. I'll try and be silent so you can focus on reading. The comments on the right side are mine. The left side is that of my sister's. Again, showing we constantly open the door to get my sister and niece involved in activities, even with my mother, and again, they always refused. Just like when we asked them for help, even to sit with my mother was too much for them. Not that my mother would allow it anyway, but 10 seconds per clip, 5 seconds per clip. Let's go. Pause and play, pause and play. Here that shows me asking them for help. I've even offered to pay Don Marie and them money to help come out and paint rooms, model, clean, do different things to help me get back online. They refused. I asked them if they knew anybody that could be workers or willing to help. Repeatedly, they'd send people out to me. Everyone they sent out happened to be friends of theirs or known by them. That again, they violated this more than they did help us. And again, a lot of them we found out were running from probation, one thing or another, that they sent out there. We've hired tons of people out there for small jobs, different things. And oddly enough, when we hired for full-time permanent positions, 98% of all absentees happen to be, again, close friends of Iva Watson and Don Marie's. And or were somehow involved in the system, being brought up on court charges or awaiting court dates. These are the people that applied for the positions. Friends of Don Marie, friends of Iva. other perps. There I asked her if she would sport a Wamsutter motel sign to help represent the motel, a magnetic sign. Again, she refused. Domri and Jess both refused to sport the sign. Now this kicks in around Iva. This is prior me asking them to go to court with me again for the 4th time. Asking them to testify. Conversation between me and Dawn pertaining to what she can do. And still to this day they can clear my name but refuse to do so. State it would endanger their family members' lives. What does that mean? Who's threatened them? Or who's made a deal with them? That was a perp that just tried calling. These are all items that Domri and Jess could have testified to, but refused. So many excuses why they cannot do or will not do things, or why they will not partake in family events or aid us. Here she's referring to she doesn't want anything text because they're in the process of trying to save and accumulate text messages, etc., to use against me in court. They do not want none of their statements seen on text. She iterates that. Here she's telling me that I can write her off, which I'd like to do anyway, she says. She's the one that refuses. You know, she seems to think she can call me all day long, harass me, my mother, my wife, and I all day long, and threaten us with cops or legal actions and all this other stuff, but yet I am not allowed to call her except for 5 to 10 minutes out of the day, twice a day. That pertains to after 3 o'clock, I can speak to her for 5 minutes. After 7 o'clock, I can speak to her for 5 minutes. Other than that, she will not take any of my calls. But she can call and harass us every day. Jess claimed that she would testify for us in court, and eventually Domry said she would claim to do the same thing. Problem then is, as soon as we got to court, and this is another oddity, I had over 9, 10, 11 witnesses in court, 9 of them subpoenaed. My mother was also there, my wife, employees. Immediately at the first of the court hearing, the judge excluded all of my witnesses except for 2 or 3. He said he would not allow any one of my witnesses that had information pertaining to any other court cases with Iva give testimony. Again, blocking us and them from getting to truth and resolving issues with Iva. These were all done intentionally. A lot of these text messages I'd also forward to my Aunt Linda. Some of them I made sure my Aunt Linda was a part of the conversations and received copies of. Here, she's in reference to, this is after we moved up here. Again, prior to me sending them copies of the will. Me telling them to show my mother respect. Many times she refers to me brainwashing my mother. She's holding me accountable for her having a piss poor relationship her entire life with my mother and my father, when it was her actions alone derivative to them, or actions against my parents, to which they disowned them for. That is the bottom line. It has nothing to do with me. Also phone calls and everything else. She's calling me psychopath. She's calling me this. She's calling me that. Threats of lawsuits. Again, trying to make it sound like we're preventing my mother from speaking. Sadly, though, my mother just refused. It has nothing to say to him. That's the bottom line. I feel horrible just for forcing my mother to speak with them, just to get rid of the headache of Domry and them calling and harassing us all the time. After I sent them copies of the will and everything, that's when Domry began saying I brainwashed mother, that I'm doing all these things, that we're doing all these things, which just isn't true. But yet she don't want my mother to testify to these events in court. Which I'm sorry, she would have to. My sister wants to contest anything, she can do it. I have no problem with that. But my mother's going to be there to testify. It's me giving her the address. How many minutes?
3 minutes left.
Okay. I got one more set on here from Dawn with Aunt Linda and stuff, and then I'll bring in Jess's. Is that 2 of them? This one's to Rhonda. This one's Dawn. Is that the right one?
Yeah, Dawn says Jessica.
This one's a short one.
Yeah, and Aunt Linda.
Dawn, Jess, and Aunt Linda. This also outlines data procedures in the courts and how it's denied all witnesses through every other court case pertaining to anything. Alright, going up to Jess's, and then I'll play my Aunt Linda's versus Jess's, and then my and Rhonda's correspondence with them. Time, baby.
1 minute.
Okay, let's go ahead and stop this.